The bad news for Lufthansa continues with now fresh developments surrounding 787 acquisition efforts. The German flag carrier is in a position where it is going to encounter further delays in acquiring 787s. In this case, the delays are not necessarily central to, say, Boeing's long-standing production woes, which have often been to blame, but rather the October US government shutdown that impacted acquisition efforts at the end of that month out of Frankfurt. Several airlines had warned during the US government shutdown that they would not see an impact on their operations, but no doubt they would, as the days progressed with nothing rectified, see challenges persist that would lead to an impact. Lufthansa choosing to blame the US government for what it is set to deal with the delayed certification of seats impacting its ability to rebuild and also take the next step forward in renewal efforts across the business. Not only are these inbound 787s that I speak of very important for growth, but they also come equipped with the all-new Allegra seats, a bid to elevate customer satisfaction levels, and as a full-service carrier that has experienced its fair share of scrutiny, restore pride in travellers that are jumping aboard its services. However, because the 787 aircraft are produced in the United States, including the installation of the all-important seats, they do require approval and certification, and there have been numerous delays in the obtaining of this approval. As a result, those planes that I speak of that need to be delivered, well, the airline is unable to sell, if they have been, specific seats in the business class, more than half of the seats, until it receives approval from the FAA to do so. What this means is Lufthansa will not be able to make as much money on each flight as it would typically do aboard these aircraft, and when you consider these are the higher cabin classes, effectively bringing in lots of money that are being blocked, it does impact its finances and obviously its turnaround efforts and the rate at which this can take shape. All of this is happening because the FAA employees who work on aspects of the approval were not showing up for duty due to the shutdowns we saw take place. We already know that Lufthansa is awaiting many new 787 Dreamliners, and this has been an issue for some time, with more than a dozen jets awaiting their delivery, but that at risk of ballooning further. Ultimately, Lufthansa felt in October at the very least that the shutdown would only add a slight delay to the time frame expected, but the reality is that if you ignore just purely the shutdown and look at the last few years, this has been a long-standing problem. Unfortunately, most recent delays come as no surprise. Like I said, from top to bottom, the fleet has had its fair share of struggles. You see, the COVID-19 pandemic came along, and Lufthansa, very simply put, followed in the footsteps of many other international airlines, and that was to retire some of their older aircraft in a bid to streamline and reduce the number of aircraft type that were present. On the surface, it was a move that made a lot of sense. What Lufthansa was not able to predict, however, was that demand would surge back far quicker than they imagined, and additionally with that, there were many associated supply chain struggles. Whether it has been next generation aircraft from single-aisle or wide-body families, no real aircraft or manufacturer has been spared from the constraints that have gone on to impact the industry, and certainly the likes of Lufthansa, who have been unable to take on aircraft when they expected, and as a result they've had to keep some of their older, less efficient aircraft around for the long term in order to mitigate the capacity losses. Struggles with now the seats aboard their 787 jets is just one of the many complexities that have occurred in the last 5 to 7 years, and while the airline would continue to hope that a fix arrives, it's not as simple as that. Thanks for watching, take care, and I'll see you tomorrow.